Alright, in this video we're just going to test the UFO low speed and hovering characteristics. So one of the important things you want to do with this craft is set up the power settings and the prop pitches. So they're color coded, so they're not too bad. Pretty much you have two power settings you're going to be using. Right now we have it all the way down to idle. As you can see, that's that first yellow bar. So we have a red bar and a yellow bar. That's our turbine thrust. So red would be usually if it's 0, that would be if the turbines are off. This yellow bar shows that's our ground idle. So that's like we're doing right now. We're just sitting, so we don't want to burn a ton of fuel, just doing nothing. So we'll just leave it on ground idle. So now we'll start bringing the thrust up. And so we'll go to 3 green bars. Again, like I said, we pretty much use 2 power settings. It's either these 3 green bars or we use 4 green bars for max. So 3 green bars is good for maneuvering close to the ground. We don't need a ton of power because we're just doing small maneuvering and hovering. So we're going to go 3 green bars. This is our prop settings, and so the white or gray bars, those are just intermediary ones. We're looking for the colored bars. So the first colored bar we're going to bring up is the blue bar. And so we'll just increase that till we get the blue bar, and I need to move that. But as you can see, we're getting close to hover now with just the blue bar on. So this pretty much gives us a very slightly negative vertical speed. So if I just tap U up and down, that's my collective. You'll notice just a tiny tap. That was 1 tap up with the up arrow, and as you can see, it just floats up and it just gently floats back down. So with 3 thrust bars and 1 blue bar, it gives almost a neutral characteristic. So now we can use that to fly around. So I'm just going to go fly down. I'll go to this other island here, come back, and we'll land it. So we're pretty much going to use our pitches WS, roll AD, yaw left, right, and then up and down is our collective. So I'll just do a little bit of flying around. So as you see, the body of the craft moves independent of the cockpit. In this case, it's the drone cockpit. On the crewed version, it will be you'll be able to put a person in there. So with this power setting of 3 greens and 1 blue, as you can see, I barely have to touch the up arrow every once in a while, and you can see our trend vector, that pink line, just that shows we're climbing, that shows we're neutral, that shows we're descending. So just tiny taps. The PFD here, which shows our attitude indicator, that's the craft body itself. So as you can see, presently we have the nose pitched down a little bit, and that's we're kind of in a hover helicopter mode with the props vertical, so that's why they're like that. If we pitched our rotors further forward, we wouldn't have to tilt the body as much, but we're just going to stay in this hover mode, and we'll start maneuvering around. So this seat's a little bit weird. As you can see, there's two air bases right next to each other, so it's a little bit funky that they're this close together. All right, we'll go ahead and shoot out the gimbal camera. So click that switch on. We'll go over to this is our cam setup here. And these are our controls. These aren't my screens. I'll link. As you can see, that's a landing gear in the way, so we'll just put our gear up. And that's our gimbal cam. So we have left, right, up, down, zoom in, zoom out. That's night vision. And then this returns it to its vertical position so that you can stow it. And we'll just click stow. And as you can see, it goes into its cubby. Click back to map, and we have our map again. So you see how nice and easy it is flying around with with just blue bar and that power setting, we don't have to do much to keep in the air. As you can see, every once in a while, just gently give it an up tap. I'm going to add an auto hover function at some point, but I just have not yet. I'll just put it so that you'll use the same target altitude, and when the props are vertical and you also click that auto hover switch, it will maintain your altitude with collective instead of using pitch. Since this is usually we'll be flying as almost like a plane mode, pitch is currently the only mode, but I will add that in. So as you see, it flies quite nicely. If we wanted to, I need to move where this prop is. On the crude version, you have your indicator bars here for thrust and prop next to each other, but because of the constraints of the challenge, I had to use a camera because we couldn't have more than one radio setting, so one radio output. So you know, that's why these are a little funky now. So I'll end up probably putting these next to each other. Yep. So what we could do is give a couple taps to prop pitch, and we'll see if we can't get this to kind of auto level out. There we go. So as you can see, now we have a gentle climb is going to be its behavior. Tap it down a little bit. See, it's a little bit less. Tap it a little bit more. Okay, so that there's got us pretty much, as you can see, now we're hovering. That was just tapping around with the prop pitch. We can also, if we go to blue line again, missed blue line. It's hard with it on that side. I do need to fix that at some point, but there's blue line again. So we have blue line again. As you see, we're just gently falling. Well, we also have some thrust we can add too. So we can tap up the thrust, and by increasing turbine thrust, we can also arrest that sink with thrust. So just keep tapping that up until it, as you can see, it's starting to get ready to hover. It's trying to gently recover from my last tap up with collective. So it looks like we have a little bit too much thrust. Tap it down just a little bit, and we can do that. But I find the best way is if you set 3 bars and blue line, you just need a gentle tap up every once in a while. And it does have an incidence of descent, but that's really good for maneuvering. So as you can see, we're getting pretty close here, just playing around with the thrust settings. I will, like I said, I'll add in a hover or altitude hold function in there so that you know it will use the collective with a PID to hold it. But as you can see now, we've very gentle climb. So we're going to look at our moving map here, and so we will let's find that island we want to go back to. Looks like we're right over it. So our craft is that red dot there. As you can see, this is the cursor from our red dot, the craft. So we're just going to put that cursor over. Again, not my screens. I'll link to them. Going to add a plus sign. Now we have a heading bug. So what we're going to do is we're going to go. We'll take heading and vertical speed off. We'll go ahead do autopilot master. That's going to bring up our heading bugs. So what we'll do then is we'll click on heading. As you can see, it's going to turn and go to this cyan bug. That's controllable with the heading bug left and right, so we can manually move that bug left and right. Now that we have a course here, we have a waypoint. It's 3.9 kilometers away. We're going to go click that on. That's going to give us our LNAV function. Now the bug will move to where that island is. So we're just going to keep going here. And for now, I'm just going to manually fly it. When we bring it back to the island, we'll land. Alright, so I'm going to go back to hover setup. I'm going to go back, drop a bar. Bring in my rotors. Drop a bar, go down to 3 bars, 1 blue, and we get a gentle descent now going. Alright, I'm rolling and yawing. And as you can see, this red line moving, that's our trend line. That's telling where we're currently headed. So I overshot just a hair, trying to keep my altitude in order. Just turn back. Alright, so now as you see that red line's lined up with where we want to go. And you can start to see in the distance the island starting to come into view. I recommend not using trim. You'll find that, with this craft, you're going to be pitching the body, especially with WS a lot. So if you're trying to hold the trim to get this altitude fixed, you're going to, the altitude trend to be fixed, you're going to end up having other issues with, accidentally trimming something out you don't want to. And as you see, we pitched the body way forward, and using the up-down keys for collective has given me a lot more speed now. Now I'm up to 90 knots. And we're flying this like a helicopter. In further videos, we'll go into actually tilting the rotors themselves, and it flies more like a plane. Right here, we're coming up on the island. As you can see where my cursor is, that's where the hangar is. We're going to just go land by the hangar. So again, we'll make sure as we come into landing, we'll make sure we're set up for hover. Again, we are, because we've been hovering this whole time. 3 greens, 1 blue, and we'll drop the gear. And you see right where my cursor is here, we have the hangar. We're going to land right in front. That's where we're sitting right now in the drone. Control bay. And just again, tiny little taps with the up and down arrows, and that's giving me all my ascent and descent. And we can see ourselves right there. Touchdown. So there we are sitting in the drone control bay, and we're touchdown. So now that we're on the ground, we're going to go ahead and we will. One reason I set this up so it's 3 greens and that 1 blue is, as you notice, we've landed, and because we had a very gentle, I don't know what it was, maybe 50 feet per minute descent rate at this power setting, as you can see, it keeps us on the ground. Oftentimes, when you have a helicopter or something and you find, you put it down, then it takes itself back off. This will keep it on the ground. So what we'll do is we'll set the props to feather. Now it's definitely not going anywhere. And then we can start bringing our thrust down to flight idle, or ground idle. Ground idle is going to be that 1 yellow bar, and that's going to be our lowest fuel usage, just sitting here on the ground. So we can go ahead and we will turn our gen off. We'll go ahead and we'll press the start-stop switches for our turbines. Those will spool down, and we shut our master power off. I have infinite electricity on, that's why the screens are still going. If we shut that off, as you can see, we would lose antenna connection if I shut off infinite electricity. So come on out to the drone. Do a quick little walk around. This is again the drone version. It has a different head unit than the crewed version. The crewed version has a cockpit where the drone head is. So let's actually go turn the master back on. We get the lights for that, so I can kind of show you the lights as so far. So turn the master power back on, and as you see now our lights are on. So we have some so we have a little green light on the drone core itself. We have some flashing lights on the flat surfaces here by the landing gear. Underneath the gear, there are also lights, so they'll match up, and then we have a spotlight for the alien spotlight. Quick little interior tour. We walk up the gear here. You need a little jump. Come on in the door. This is sealable. I wish the craft would float in the water. It floats in the water, but the problem is the water level comes up to about here, so the props get swamped, and there's no way to get out of the water, so you're kind of stuck there, so you might not want to go in the drink. But here we have our two housings for our rotor units. We have our exhausts for when we're in forward flight mode. On either side, we have our two turbines. This is our gearing and our generators in there. That's our master for our power. Coming ahead here, we have our drone or our gimbal camera housing. Here are our two intakes for the props when they're in forward mode. Go ahead and we can go up the ladder and through the hatch. This is how you would get to the cockpit of the crewed version. Again, the cockpit of the crewed version sits above this indentation. This indentation is here for the crewed version, so that can also rotate around the body. We have our two intakes for our turbines, our upper intakes for our tilt rotors, and this is our drone core. Here are all our cameras, and this tilts independently, as you saw. Thank you for watching.